Now that we have our data prepared and our tables connected, we will start to add elements to our report. Before we add the elements, we'll also add a filter, and we'll select a household from which we'll use the data from to review the report as we add information and elements to the report. I'm going to remove this filter just to demonstrate how to add it to the report. As we discussed earlier, we needed a table with unique values for households, and that will be the table from which we add a filter. So I'm going to drag the household name over into this filter. The household name for each page in the report will be the same, so I'm going to use the household name to filter all pages in the report. You can see that we can also have a filter apply only to this page, as well as a filter that would only apply to certain parts of the report. For instance, I could have a filter that would only apply to this table. Now, just going through the elements we've added to this report. At the top, we have the title and the version. These are simply text fields. So to create these fields at the top, what I would do is select text box. The text box will appear in the visual, and I'll drag it into the position where I would like to display it. So we have the text box here, and I would simply type in portfolio review, just as it now appears, and then use the functionality that's very similar to Word or PowerPoint and adjust the font and adjust the colors so it displays as I would like. Here you can see if I highlight this text, these are the options that have been selected to format that text. The same thing would be done with the version as well as the investment objective. These are simply text boxes that have been dragged into the report. The area where the word balanced appears to be a text box, but it's actually a card. To add a card, I'll go to Insert, select the drop-down arrow here, and from here select Card. We'll drag it into position and resize it. The balance field is the field within the household table for household profile. Click on the data icon here and click Add Data from the households table and select Household Profile. And that adds the balance field into my card. I can then resize the font and change the font color by right-clicking on the card and clicking Format. Now in the Format pane, I can make whatever changes I would like to make to the card. I can adjust the size and the background color, the title, or the size of the font. We've already done that here, so I'm just going to remove this card. My household field is simply a text. I add a text element, and I can add household or whatever I want to label this as. And then this element here is another card with the data being selected as the household value from the household table. This element here is a table. I'm going to adjust the size of this table to make room for adding a table as a demonstration. So to add an element, like we see here, which is the table showing the balances for each account in the household, I would click on some area in the report, and from the visuals in the top window, I will click on Table, and a table now is added to the report. I can resize it, and now I can add the data. If I click on the table and then click on the data icon, Add Data, and I'm going to add data from the Household and Accounts table. This is the table with unique household account value. So if I add data from this table, there are unique account IDs in each line in this table, so I won't have any duplicate values or issues with how this table displays. I'll select the client name and the account ID, the account type, the account profile, and then the account value. The other column in this table, the percent of household, is a calculated field, and we'll cover how to create that later in this video. I could now do some reformatting if I wanted to change the background color of the column headers or the body of the table. I could do so over in the formatting pane on the right. And if the formatting pane is not open, the way to activate it would be to right click on the table and click Format. And that'll open up this formatting pane to make edits to the table. I'll change the column headers to a different color, and I'll change the text to white. I can also adjust the width of the columns by hovering over the header and then moving the columns to the left or the right. So here we have the column width adjusted. To change the heading, I can click on the data icon, right click on, in this case, I'll select Account Profile and select Rename for this visual. And we can change this to IPS Objective. If I want to remove this total, in the formatting pane over to the right, I can open up the totals, options, values, and select off. And now for the calculated field here, which is the percent of household, this would be done on the data view page. In the household and accounts table, the percent of household has been added as a measure, and I'll demonstrate how this is done. So in the household and accounts table, we have a calculated column called percentage of household. So we'll recreate this as a demonstration. From the household and accounts table, I'll click on New Column, we'll call it percent of HH. And the fields we use to calculate the column will be the account total value divided by the household total value. So this will be our formula for calculating that field, and we'll format this as a percentage. And now we'll go back to the report by clicking on the report view, and we can add that column into our table. So we'll select the table, select the data icon, add data, household accounts, and then we can add the percent household into the table. You can see over in the right-hand panel under Format, there's many other options for customizing and modifying the table. I will go ahead and remove this, and now we'll create the pie chart. Now I'll move the pie chart over to make room for adding a new pie chart, and we'll click on Insert the donut chart. We'll move it to the position we would like it located. I'll go ahead and expand the size of the chart. And now the fields for this chart will be from our household account and positions table. I'll click on Add Data, and the legend will be classification. And then we actually have a calculated field for this chart as well. I'm going to go to the household account positions, and the field I'll use for the values is a field called allocation. This is a calculated field created just as the percentage of household was created for the other table. So I'll click on allocation. You can see that it defaults to the count. I want it to be the sum. So I'll right click on that value and then select sum. And just to review how that field was calculated, I'll go back to the data view and go to the household account and positions table, click on allocation. And here you see the formula that was used to create the allocation percentage. So the position market value divided by the household total account value. And this was also created by creating a new column. So back in our report view, you can see that the chart that's in the report is formatted differently than the one we just created. So what we'll do is go into the format pane over here. We're going to turn off the title with the legend. We'll turn off the title for the legend as well. And for the data labels or detail labels, we will select the positioning to be inside, just include the percent total. And then with the values, we'll change the decimal places to 0. So now we have the chart formatted just as the chart in the report. With respect to the colors, you can adjust the colors by going to slices. If we wanted to make these colors match, I'll go to more colors. Here is the value for the color in the original chart, and we'll make a change in the new chart to have that color match. So now we've duplicated the chart that we originally had in the report. So I'm going to remove this, move this back over, and move this down. Now moving on to the next page, many of the elements in this page are the same type of visuals we have already done. And in the next video, we'll cover how to create the charts and graphs on this page that are different from those that we created on the previous page.